And now, to present the Valentine Davies Award, please welcome Jeff Goldblum.
Hello. We all know Oscar-nominated Richard Curtis for his masterful film work, having penned the romantic comedies Four Weddings and a Funeral, Love Actually, and Bridget Jones's Diary. As well as the critically acclaimed drama War Horse, and my personal favorite, The Tall Guy. But not for the reason that you may think. You might be surprised. It's because Richard Curtis himself makes an appearance in the movie, and his performance as the mustachioed man coming out of the bathroom is sheer quicksilver. You cannot take your eyes off of him. Look it up, even as much as you might try. You just can't do it. But more than his beautiful words and wonderful performance, he's a true, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, mensch. I think that's a show business term. I can't say that I'm all that familiar. Mensch, who we're honoring tonight for his altruistic endeavors. As co-founder and vice chair of Comic Relief, Richard has raised money to combat poverty worldwide. In 1988, Comic Relief launched its Red Nose Day fundraising initiative, which brought together some of the biggest celebrities of the day. Since then, he has produced more than 15 Red Nose Day TV events, first in the UK and now in the USA, which have raised over $1 billion toward globally fighting childhood poverty. Richard was also a founding member of Make Poverty History, focusing on issues related to aid, trade, and justice. In 2005, MPH partnered with Bob Geldof to organize the landmark Live 8 benefit concerts. In 2014, he founded Project Everyone, which, working alongside the United Nations, helped to launch and promote the global goals for sustainable development, aiming to fight inequality and injustice, combat climate change, and end extreme poverty by 2030. Last year, Richard was appointed as a UN Sustainable Development Goals advocate. Richard selflessly gives of himself time and time again to provide aid to those who so desperately need it. Tonight, in recognition of his humanitarian efforts, charitable initiatives, and world service, we are thrilled, Richard, to honor you with the WGAW's Valentine Davies Award. Richard Curtis, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much indeed. Jeff, we did our first film together. He's almost the nicest actor I've ever worked with. If Hugh Grant had been anything like him, I would have had such a happy life. I have to say, I can really recommend awards that you don't have to compete for, because I know it's harder when you do. I was nominated for an Oscar once, and I thought I'd won for the shortest amount of time science can record, because they said, and the best picture is won by and I thought I'd won, but then it turned out to be Forrest fucking Gump. So, and not Four Weddings and a Funeral, unfortunately. The last thing I'll say on that, my son, Jake, came up with a joke the other day. He said that if he was going to found an undertaker, he would call it Four Funerals and a Funeral, which I thought was a rather good joke. In the context of this, I just wonder if I can say a couple of things. These are obviously, for many reasons, very complex times. And I just wanted to say to everyone in this room, in case you ever forget, thank you for the extraordinary thing that you do to our lives. Because TV and films and radio are so important to the texture of our lives. My girlfriend and I binge-watched The Crown the other day, and she said it was the happiest we'd been in bed for a decade. But the number of times when you are feeling depressed and you watch an episode of Veep, the number of times you don't know what to do with yourself politically, you watch SNL, the number of times you don't know what the hell to do with your kids, and then they watch Stranger Things or Game of Thrones. It's a wonderful thing that TV does in making our lives happier. And then, of course, also an extraordinary thing that films, television can do in making you learn and empathize with things. And you all know that. You know, I watched La La Land on my birthday, and it made me, a 60th birthday, made me feel 58 again. You know, I learned things I didn't know watching Moonlight, and I learned that it's okay not to get over terrible things that happen to you by watching Manchester by the Sea. So I think, you know, I do congratulate all of you on your work. And I just want to ask you something, or say something to you, which is that my experience is that the people who are working to campaign and the people who are working to save and change people's lives could really do with your help. Now, I'm sure a lot of you do this kind of work. I'm probably preaching to the converted, but my experience really is that if you can find some time to take off, to do things, if you can track down a charity, someone you believe in, go to them and say, actually, I'll make you a little film. I'll write something for you, I'll work with you, I'll work on a slogan. Your ideas will be excellent and will make changes to people's lives and save precious lives. What's been so extraordinary about my experience is that the miracle of what happens when you open the door to people's good side. It's like a sort of a superpower. I was, I've made a lot of mistakes. Anyone who's seen Bridget Jones' The Edge of Reason knows that. But I wasn't in a particularly strong position, and yet by just giving a little bit of amount of time to this, extraordinary things will happen. I once took 20 minutes writing a letter to Jo Rowling and asking her if I could have a signed copy of a Harry Potter book to auction. And she said, well, actually, she'd been thinking of writing 2 little pamphlets. And so she took 2 weeks writing those pamphlets. One of them was the Fantastic Beasts little book. And as a result of that, all the booksellers, all the people she worked with, gave the money from those books. And that little letter of mine raised eventually $28 million. So, and it's... And I had dinner with Simon Cowell and Simon Fuller once. I said, wouldn't it be great to do an American Idol, which gives the money from it to charity? And in one night, we raised, I think, $72 million from the show that we did. So whatever you do, I just ask you to look at those busy diaries of yours and say, well, actually, let me go to someone and let me see if I can work with them and make some little extraordinary thing to change people's hearts and minds, to raise some money. And, you know, it's not always easy. You'll find yourself compromised and it's complicated, but then so's everything that we all do. And better, you know, get the shit kicked out of you for trying to save someone's life than trying to make the BBC more money. And I would say it's strangely easy too, you know. We all know in our own lives it's very hard to actually change and save the lives of the people you most love. But it's weirdly easy to raise the money that buys a malaria net, that sets up a helpline for victims of domestic violence, that reaches a refugee child that no one's helping. So on this lovely, increasingly drunken evening, I can tell, it would be wonderful to feel that all of us would feel, our motto in our office and my family is to make things happen, you have to make things. And that's what you all do. And you can all help make extraordinary things that will make extraordinary changes. And I'm very grateful to receive this award on behalf of the people who work on the projects I support 365 days a year, not just the little bit that I do. Thank you all very much.